30 seconds and counting. 25 seconds and counting. We are still go. 20 seconds. Guidance alert. The guidance system now going internal. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening to my viewers in Europe and Africa, and good afternoon to my viewers in the Western Hemisphere. Good early morning, I think still early morning to my viewers in the Pacific Rim and India. Welcome to the Angry Astronaut. So yeah, this is a bit of a different sort of title compared to the titles that I've been running lately. It's more of a title to announce or roll out a new development on the channel for February. And assuming this goes well, I'm probably going to do this every February, but I want to make sure that people understand what the situation is with all of that. And I'm waiting. Is Anton Nim on this stream? Yeah. Anton isn't on the stream. Great. Okay. Well, in any event, I'm just going to go ahead and keep going. Producer, can you go ahead and check the audio on it real quick, please? Okay. Yeah. So we're checking the audio just to be sure, guys. But in any event, I'm just going to keep going here. Okay, so here's the deal. As far as I had a feeling, Dan, that was the case. Yeah, I had a feeling that was the case. 1, 2, 3 as well. I've been noticing that we're getting some people who immediately start the stream talking about the audio. Yeah, kind of knew that was going to be happening. So yeah, just about everybody saying 5 by 5 in the chat as well. So in any event, haha, very funny. Anyway, okay, so here we go. The Alien Month is not. I'm not saying that all of the content this month is going to be alien related. But what I wanted to do, I had a look at my viewing numbers and my viewing statistics from January, and 40% of my views, 40% of the traffic on my channel came from 2 videos, and both of them were UFO related videos. There's just, and that's just 2 of the videos I released. If we're talking about all of the alien related videos that I released last month, well, let me tell you, it was a massive preponderance of traffic coming from the UFO/alien stuff as opposed to others. So since I've gathered so many new subscribers, thousands and thousands of new subscribers as a result of this, I wanted to do something for you folks and have an Alien Month. Now, an Alien Month, as I say, isn't going to be 100% alien content, UFO content all month. It just means that you're going to have about 50-50. And once again, not justifying it, I am instead explaining what Alien Month is going to be. Because I have spaceflight enthusiasts who like spaceflight stuff, so that's not going to go away. It's just going to be more of an even division this month. So once again, really appreciate everybody here. Some people already checking in, by the way. I forgot to ask ask folks to do that. We have Alabama checking in. Thanks very much for being here. We have Wales as well. Thanks very much. Really, really appreciate it. Get to the White House press room. I'd love it. I have a feeling the White House press room probably isn't going to let me walk in right now. And, people like me generally don't get into the White House press room. Anyway, hello, Northern Ireland. Thank you very much for checking in. Really, really appreciate it. Hello, Hailing Island in Minnesota. Thanks very much. And hello, Birmingham, and Ireland and London calling. We have Valdosta. Hello, Robert. Thanks very much for checking in. Todd, I'm glad you're a fan of both topics. Hello, Los Angeles and Cornwall and Nottinghamshire and Guatemala. Hello, Guatemala. Gibraltar, thanks for checking in. Hello, New York. Hello, Paris. Hello, North Carolina. Really appreciate it. And of course, our awesome producer, ASN in Yorkshire. And hello, California and Wales. We have Cyprus checking in. I'm sorry, I'm always going to mispronounce the name of towns in Wales. I really need to start getting better at that. Hello, Devin. Really, really appreciate you being in Sligo, Ireland. Thanks very much for checking in. And hello, Ohio. Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate you saying that, because I think anybody who's been watching this channel for a long time, I really do my best to tell it like it is, even if it's going to generate some anger on the part of some of the viewers. Hello, Scotland. Hello, Hamburg. Really appreciate you being here in Norwich, UK, and Charleston. Robert, thank you so much for your support. Thanks so much for the $10. Cornwall again. Awesome. Certified space case in Somerset, Essex. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. And hello, Galway, and Portugal. Thanks again. Oh, and Tromsø, Norway. Thanks for checking in today. So let me talk about what's going to be happening this month in regards to Alien Month. Also, real quick, we have 2 winners from last month. I was going to announce it, to do a random number generator to announce that we were going to have 1 winner from the Patreon supporters and 1 winner from the Super Chat folks on the orbital launch mount fragments. Unfortunately, my car broke down today. It took me all day to get that rectified. I barely had enough time to get back and handle a live broadcast a few hours ago. So in any event, guaranteed, I will get that. That will be happening this week. You'll definitely be getting an announcement on who's going to win those fragments. And I've got a new contest coming for Alien Month as well. Oxfordshire and Missouri. Thank you so much, Los Angeles, Clifton. Hello, Damien. Thanks for joining us today. Hello, Alabama. Darth, thank you so much for the €5. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So here's, the things that we're going to be talking about are many and varied, unlike many of my colleagues who, by the way, they produce good content. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to slam other YouTube channels, but instead of a lot of the UFO channels that will simply show you new footage, here's some footage from Ohio, here's some footage from Japan, here's some footage from Russia. Boy, that looks real. Don't you think that looks real? Yeah, I think that looks real. Instead of those kinds of conversations going on, instead, what I like to do is to go a little bit more in depth. For example, geographically, I like to focus a bit more. Like if there's an outbreak of UFO sightings in Indiana or Ohio or Northern California, something like that, then I will go back in time, research that region to see if anything like this has ever happened before. Is this a first time situation, a first time UFO outbreak in this area? Or is this something that's happened before? And if it happened before, was it similar? Did the craft that were spotted in the past bear a resemblance to the things that are being seen today? Because in my mind, that adds a lot more validity to what's happening right now. If there's an outbreak of orb UFOs or an outbreak of cylinder UFOs or something like that in a region now, and we see a bunch of footage associated with that, I like to go back 50 years or 30 years, or sometimes as long as 70 years back to the 1950s to determine whether or not this is something that happened in the past when we didn't have CGI, where faking these kinds of things were a lot more difficult. And also, were the sightings similar? Was the morphology of the UFOs similar? And if they were, that means that the eyewitnesses from the 1950s, the 1970s, or whatever, were seeing things that were very similar to the to what's being seen today. And if you get that kind of established pattern, again, to me, the validity starts to really increase. It because I don't see how you can have, a pattern of similar sightings over 50 to 70 years, with different eyewitnesses, generation after generation of eyewitnesses, and have it all be a fraud or have it all be misidentification. I'll give you another example. If we're talking about natural explanations or explanations associated with mundane causes, the Pentagon recently came out. This is a big thing with the Pentagon right now. They've discovered that satellites passing overhead can sometimes, if the sunlight and reflections are working just right, actually reflect the image of the satellite lower in the atmosphere, meaning that a satellite passing overhead can actually project its image, so to speak, through reflection and atmospherics and light, to where it looks like that there's an orb UFO in the atmosphere rather than up in space. And that can be misinterpreted by pilots, especially as an orb UAP. Okay, and the Pentagon believes that they've hit on something big here. This is a big explanation that could, account for all of these UAP sightings from pilots, these so-called orb UAP sightings that pilots have been making recently. And to which I reply, well, hold on for a second. If that's the case, then what about this footage that we have that you guys have made available recently of orb UAPs being spotted by pilots and filmed by pilots back in the early 1960s or the mid 1950s, when satellites were not only very rare, but in the case of the mid 1950s, they didn't exist at all. Sputnik didn't fly until the late 1950s, and that was only one satellite also. So how, if that's your explanation today, then what's your explanation for those very same types of craft or objects or UAP being cited way back then? It doesn't hold water, in my opinion, even though I think that this explanation definitely does work for some of these sightings. It definitely doesn't work for all of them because, again, if that were the case, then we shouldn't have had these kinds of sightings in the past, or we should have had a proportionally lower number of sightings when satellites were far less common. So yeah, again, just frustrating frustrating to see the amount of effort that the Pentagon is putting into trying to explain all UAP with mundane explanations. That is the only thing. Grammar Dragon, you're right. That does sound like a new version of swamp gas, by the way. It's frustrating to see that seems to be their only objective. If they cannot explain a sighting with some sort of mundane cause, then they have failed. That's how I think that's the Pentagon's current philosophy, their current modus operandi. If we're not explaining away these things with some sort of mundane or natural explanation, then we are failing. Hey Dan, I actually like Britain and I like cold places. So this is actually just about cold enough for me, definitely. So yeah, so what I do is when I see mundane explanations, when I see or natural explanations being put forward by debunkers, I really like to see just how much water those explanations hold. How did they hold up under under detailed analysis and over under historical analysis? And oftentimes I really find that they don't hold up very well at all. And once again, it isn't my objective. I don't think that I'm failing if I'm not dismissing or debunking the debunkers, so to speak. If debunkers come up with a very good and rational and well thought out explanation that's supported by the science and the observational data, good for them. That's a tremendous discovery. And not only that, that helps us filter out some of the non-exotic causes for UAPs. All of that having been said, though, oh hey Farouk, Farouk comes by sometimes, and it always gets me to sing New York, New York, start spreading the news. Okay, if I keep singing, I'm gonna this thing's gonna get demonetized for copyrighted music. But anyway, I love New York. It's definitely one of my favorite cities in the world. Okay, folks. So aside from that, aside from UFO related videos, and by the way, got one coming out really soon about, since I'm sure their ears are burning right now, the Pentagon and their most recent report from 2024, which, by the way, there's a lot of details in that report that were not really focused on by the media. The media didn't seem to pay much attention to Arrow's latest 2024 UAP report. There was a lot of intriguing information in that. So I'm releasing a video about that, hopefully tomorrow. It's kind of in depth. It may take me a little longer to put it all together. But the most significant thing about the Pentagon's recent report is the fact that they saw, or they are now reporting dozens of UFOs being sighted in space. For the first time, the Pentagon is starting to track. They're starting to track UFO sightings in space, and I was shocked as to how many came up. And currently, the majority of them are still unexplained. Dan 85, thank you so much for the tenor. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much indeed. That's your first super chat. I'm honored. Thank you so much. Like I say, this support makes a big difference, especially in short months, 28-day months. I'll tell you, that's a rough. February is always a rough month for content creators because Google's not very generous at that time, and it's also a 28-day month. So thanks very much indeed. Every time NASA live stream goes dark, they saw something weird. You know what, Dave? You're right. That happens with great frequency. Something bizarre is on camera, and they do kind of bring down the live stream. It's interesting. I've actually researched quite a number of these ISS live streams that have suddenly something odd has popped up. There's a particular site that's actually archived all of these ISS sightings going back years and years, and I was shocked as to how many of them there are. And by the way, that footage is going to be included in this video that I'm releasing. Hopefully tomorrow, about UFOs being spotted in space. So yeah, very interesting report. In addition, for Patreon supporters, we've got something special coming up for you folks this month as well, and that is an in-depth video about Project Blue Book. Really, it's in many cases when Project Blue Book is described briefly, when there's some sort of history or documentary about the history of UFOs, or a a general kind of brief book or article about the history of UFOs. Project Blue Book always comes up, but what it essentially says all the time, what the claim that is made is that the Air Force, researched many cases, and then they concluded that there wasn't anything really to it, and then they canceled the program. That is actually not true at all. There are many people who were heavily involved in Project Blue Book, including the first leader of the program, the first person to actually to head up the Project Blue Book program, who didn't talk that way at all, who thought that there was definitely a lot more to this phenomena than just misidentified aircraft or planets or swamp gas or whatever. And also, we need to remember that one of the biggest proponents for ufology is in terms of serious UFO study, Dr. J. Allen Hynek used to be one of the most prominent scientific consultants for Project Blue Book. We always talk about swamp gas. We always hear that explanation. It was actually Dr. J. Allen Hynek who came up with that explanation originally. And then in a few years after he had examined many cases and said swamp gas over and over again, his views changed radically. Yes, don't worry, Nam. Area 51 will get a video this month as well. Absolutely. So yeah, very interesting to see that Dr. J. Allen Hynek, again, a very respected scientist, so respected that the Air Force consulted with him for years, using him to find natural explanations. And at first, like I said, Dr. Hynek was not a supporter of the idea that there was anything unusual or exotic about UFOs. And then all of a sudden, his views changed radically. And he became a huge proponent for the notion that UFOs had an extraterrestrial origin. Bob Lazar, yeah, I'll tell you, I've done some research on him here and there, and even though I love what he has to report, I don't know about his credentials, to be honest. It's difficult when we're talking about somebody who had high level security clearances that to get access to top secret information, et cetera, et cetera. It's difficult to confirm that people actually had that kind of clearance because, of course, the government doesn't make it very public that people actually had these sorts of things. Yeah. But he's definitely, like I say, I love what he has to say, and definitely has a lot of legitimate things to say. So don't get me wrong. I think Bob Lazar is definitely somebody that should have some information about it. So yeah, very excited indeed about that as well. So in addition to that, though, beyond the UFO stuff, there's also astronomical phenomena that we need to discuss. For example, Dyson spheres. You probably heard, and I actually did a video on this topic, that an in-depth study was done looking for solar systems that had an infrared signature that bore a great deal of resemblance to what a Dyson sphere would look like. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, by the way, Dyson spheres are a way to harness the entire power output of a star. You surround a star with either solar collectors or solar reflectors and use it to gather all the energy of a star and generate enormous amounts of power. In an extremely advanced alien civilization that needs enormous amount of power to, for example, run enormous amounts of AI. I mean, AI requires huge amounts of energy, or to transport very large spacecraft across the galaxy at high percentages of the speed of light. That requires enormous amounts of energy. Anyway, that there is an infrared signature that it has been hypothesized a star should have if it were surrounded by a Dyson sphere. And after a very in-depth study where many candidate stars were filtered out, they found 7 candidate stars out of, I forget how many thousands they started with, but 7 candidate stars that look very, very promising indeed. And interestingly enough, um, another astronomer released a paper a few weeks ago talking about if a Dyson sphere was a real thing, there would need to be another way to bleed the heat off. There's a lot of excess heat that would be generated by a Dyson sphere that could be dangerous to the technology, dangerous to the solar system that it's surrounded, etc. So to bleed that heat off, he hypothesized that there is a certain frequency of radio energy that would be given off by a Dyson sphere. And interestingly enough, 3 of these 7 stars show this characteristic radio signature, this enormous amount of radio energy blasting out from the star at the same time as they have these strange infrared signatures. All of that being the case, though, the astronomers who discovered this and did an in-depth study, they actually used this discovery to try to explain why they're not Dyson spheres. And you know what? Their justifications, I thought, were so absurd. And so, in any event, you'll be seeing a video on that very soon. But the whole idea, the reasons that they justified in their heads as to why these incredible discoveries meant that these were not Dyson spheres just makes so little sense compared to the opposite conclusion. And again, it indicates what the overwhelming majority of the scientific community and the astronomical community insists on, is they are determined to debunk just about any conclusion that shows the existence or proves the existence of extremely advanced extraterrestrial civilizations. Why they have this position, why they think that the universe is a more fantastic and amazing place if they are always finding new natural causes for these amazing phenomena, as opposed to the existence of an extraterrestrial civilization. Mind-boggling. I don't understand why they maintain that philosophy, that modus operandi, but that is indeed what they do. And again, a question was asked: why would you need that instead of nuclear fusion? Nuclear fusion actually does not generate enough power to push a substantial amount of mass. We're talking more than a couple hundred tons to 90 or 95% of the speed of light. It requires even antimatter drive, or an antimatter reactor doesn't generate enough energy to push a huge amount of mass to 90 or 95% of the speed of light. However, an alien megastructure, and not a Dyson sphere, but rather something called a Dyson dot or a Dyson station, a collection of solar collectors about twice the size of the Earth. So not that huge, but still pretty big. That would generate enough energy to push 1,000,000 tons worth of mass to 50% of the speed of light, by using something called a radio sail. And I released a video about that recently. So if we have an interstellar civilization that's sending many spacecraft from one star to another, pushing radio sails in the process, they probably would need a Dyson sphere in order to accomplish that. It requires an insane amount of energy to push a large amount of mass up to those sorts of velocities. So in any event, we've got videos about those topics as well coming up. So I wanted to make sure once again that folks are aware of what we have going on this month, what Alien Month is, which is again about 50% of content will be alien videos this month. And again, the reason I'm doing this, number one, is because the viewers clearly want it. Last month, I mean, the UFO videos did so well. So, nevertheless, want to make sure that we give the viewers what they want in February. But in addition to that, we just want to say thank you to the thousands and thousands of new subscribers who have signed on because of these UFO videos. Got lots of new followers who really like that kind of content. So we want to make sure that we acknowledge all of that. So that's what we have coming up this month, folks. Really, really appreciate your support, and so get ready for UFOs. Get ready for Project Blue Book. Get ready for Area 51. Get ready for Dyson Spheres, for interstellar travel utilizing next generation technology, not technology that defies the laws of physics, not technology that we can't explain scientifically or anything like that. Every time I hear those sorts of things, it frustrates me because most of the anomalous behavior that we see UFOs are observed doing in the atmosphere or out in space, they can be explained scientifically. It is possible for them to do these things with technology that we can understand and theorize about. Sure, our civilization may not be capable of building technology like that yet, but we certainly can understand how that technology works. It always sounds crazy when people talk about how these things defy the laws of physics. Well, no, they don't. Physics, interestingly enough, permits a great many things. Physics is a wonderful, wonderful pursuit. So I am looking forward to bringing all of this to you folks as well. So stay tuned. Exciting stuff coming to you. By the way, I'm on my way to Leicester tomorrow to an aerospace conference being hosted by the UK Space Agency. Really looking forward to that as well. So for those of you who like European and UK space flight, got some good content coming with that as well. So everybody stay tuned, get ready for Alien Month, and until next time, stay angry about space.